Do you find people are depressed from the natural aging process and their body kind of getting older, and then the hair loss and all of these things that come along with aging?
That seems like that's a pretty complicated question. Actually, I certainly see some of that, but many people actually cope quite well with aging, and so I think it's probably a complicated issue where there's probably already somebody may be prone to be having problems with depression and anxiety anyway, and then perhaps aging may just exacerbate the issue.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the other areas that you're working with with your expertise with the body, that you're not liking your body and you feel like something's wrong. What is that?
Body dysmorphic disorder is a very serious psychiatric illness. It's often compared to OCD because there are a lot of similarities. The similarities being in the obsessive thinking about a part of the body. And so the essence of BDD, as it's referred to, is the belief that a part of the body is flawed in some way in its appearance. What we see are people who are mostly concerned about features around the head and the face, such as the skin tone or hair or the shape of their nose or their ears or their eyes. But it can be any part of the body. It can be the stomach, it can be legs, the shape of the arms, the teeth. It could just be anything.
And they're just focused on that.
That's right. And there's a lot of compulsive behavior that goes along with it, probably the most common being checking in the mirror, or these days taking selfies, or comparing of how they look, how their body part looks to that of other people.
Right.
And that's where social media often comes in, where people do a lot of comparing. What is different between body dysmorphic disorder and trichotillomania is people with trichotillomania can also have body dysmorphic disorder, but if the purpose of the hair pulling is in some ways to improve somebody's physical appearance, then I would look at that possibly the person really has body dysmorphic disorder. If the hair pulling is more of a automatic response, there's not a lot of thought process attached to it, that's more of would be true to trichotillomania. But there's nothing saying that people couldn't have both problems.
Okay. So with the body dysmorphic disorder, do you find that they run to plastic surgery and stuff like that to fix things?
Yes, and that's an excellent point, because to me that is one of the most tragic things I ever come across. And I see many people who have gone to plastic surgeons to get the body part, quote, fixed. And what happens with BDD is that it's well known that most people who have plastic surgery, who have BDD, don't like the
outcome.
Don't like the outcome, right? And then they go chasing after other procedures to have the initial one corrected. And it just sends them down a spiral that is very, very depressing and anxiety provoking. And interestingly, it's known that people who don't have BDD, who have plastic surgery, typically like the results. And so it makes perfect sense to me that somebody with BDD wouldn't like the results of plastic surgery, because BDD is a psychiatric problem and it can't be treated with plastic surgery. It just doesn't make any sense. However, it doesn't stop people from trying it, because the depth of the despair for people with BDD is really great. And they'll look for any means to try and feel better, and unfortunately they often seek out plastic surgery for that.
Okay, good. So you're saying that when these people struggling with BDD come in, you don't see the issue that they're worried about. Okay, so this is really, they don't have it.
Well, there are two ways to look at that. One is that there is nothing there. That their perception of what they're seeing is very different than what anyone else would see.
Okay.
There are times when part of the diagnosis can be that somebody does have something that's considered very slight.
Okay.
And so and would not be noticeable to most other people. So there may be, for example, some, let's say, acne scarring, or some maybe thinning of the hair. That's all very normal and nobody else would notice it, but the person with BDD would be very fixated on it.
Wow. So what would you say to a plastic surgeon or somebody in the field of augmenting body parts? What would you say to them to decipher that they have a person with BDD in their chair?
Well, the first thing I would like to see them do an assessment. And an important question to be able to ask is that, are they distressed about the body part? Are they feeling depressed over it? Are they having anxiety associated with it? Do they feel angry about it? Do they feel suicidal? Unfortunately, this population often does feel suicidal. That's what makes this a very high-risk population to treat. And so they do need to be asking some very pointed questions about whether somebody is feeling this way, because most people with BDD will not reveal this when they go to plastic surgeons, because plastic surgeons are very familiar with the disorder.
Okay.
And typically, well, for the most part, won't operate on somebody with BDD because they know it's just not going to work. They know that the patient's going to be unhappy. And there are many, many examples of people getting angry at their plastic surgeons, suing their plastic surgeons, and and understandably, the doctors just don't want to get involved in that.
Right.
And so if they're doing sufficient screening of it, they will come across, they will be able to identify people with BDD.
Okay, perfect. That's good. Have you heard of any, I don't know, is there any, like any type of, what's that when you put needles in the acupuncture? Is there any type of like acupuncture or anything that people have been known to do to stimulate this part of the brain that allows them to like think that they're having a problem with something? Is there anything that's been done?
I haven't heard of anything like that.
Or surgeries on the brain? I mean, it's a part of the brain that's triggering this, right?
There are some surgeries that can help with body dysmorphic disorder and OCD. However, it is brain surgery.
Right.
And so there are very few case reports of this actually happening.
Okay.
We would want somebody to go through many more of the other more traditional treatments before deciding on brain surgery. It's really done for a very select number of people who just haven't benefited from any other form of treatment.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you so much for everything you do, and you're helping so many people with problems that keep them away from having a normal life.
You're welcome, Emily, and thank you for doing this. The more we can get the word out there about what trichotillomania and these other problems are is important, and most importantly, for people to know that there's treatment for this.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you.
How you doing, Scott?
Hi, Emily.